friends, Kim from Stamping Imperfection. Thank you for joining me today. I have a couple of foiling techniques I want to share with you today. I'm going to start with some Deco foil on a piece of pre-printed ephemera that has toner ink on it. And I'm using this Deco foil from Thermoweb. I really love this. This particular piece is called Summer Rainbow. You can see I have my laminator there on the side. It's plugged in and heating up. I have it turned on. That's the carrier sheet I'm going to use. It's just a piece of copy paper folded in half. I'm working on a technique to be able to use solid stamps, but I haven't quite mastered it yet. So when I figure that out, I'll share that with you. I pulled out this outline stamp set, these cute critters, and I'm going to show you how I do foil those. So here are the ephemera pieces I was telling you about. You can see I have a piece of foil cut to size. I put it in my carrier sheet between the two parts of the copier paper. Fold side first, going through the machine, and when I pull this out, I will just give everything a good press. It's still warm, so I feel like giving it a good press lets me get anything that's warm enough that will melt that toner so that the foil will stick to it. And isn't that pretty? That's so pretty. This is part of the Happy Birthday ephemera set from Maker Forte. So I also have the die cut ephemera pieces that coordinate with those other ones, and they are covered in toner ink, and the sole purpose of those is so that you can use this negative piece that you would normally throw away and create a second sentiment out of that as well. So you can see a pretty side up. The flat silver part is toward the toner ink. It's going in a carrier sheet. The carrier sheet goes fold side first into the laminator. And I am careful about rolling up my foil and putting it away when I use it. You don't want to fold it or crease it. If you roll it or store it flat, those are the ways to do it, because the creases will show up in what you're trying to foil. So you want to be careful with that. So I am using the Thermoweb. Here you can see me pressing again just to make sure I'm burnishing everything really well. And look how pretty this is. Like, Thermoweb is specifically made to be used in this way, either on toner, pre-printed ephemera and die cuts like this, or in something you print with a laser printer, because a laser printer will put toner on your paper that is foilable, which is nice. So here's a way to do your outline stamps. Like, I get this to work really well with outline stamps, but those solid little hearts have not worked perfectly yet. I've gotten a start to it, so I'm going to figure that out, and I will share that with you when I figure out what I need to do to make it perfect. So I put my little critter stamps down, and this is just my regular white cardstock. I'm going to use either the Maker Forte clear embossing color Hive ink, or for some reason I used my Versamark. Either one, they're embossing inks, and this is my raggedy old Versamark, which I haven't used in a while, to be honest, and I'm adding clear embossing powder because basically I think this works because that toner gets hot and it melts a little bit. So the same thing's going to happen to the embossing powder. I'm going to heat set it, but then when I send it through the laminator with that foil on top of it, I think it melts a little bit and the foil sticks to it. So I'm going to melt this just like I would with any piece I was heat embossing. And I don't think it matters that I'm using clear. I think any color of embossing powder would work. I use my clear embossing powder just because I have a big tub of it and I only have a little container of my other colors like gold. So I don't want to use something I only have a little bit of. So again, I keep rolling this out and putting it away, but I need another piece. This little scrap is perfect for what I need it for. So again, pretty side up. The back side of the foil faces the embossed image that I just created. It went into my carrier sheet. The carrier sheet went fold side first into my laminator. This is a very inexpensive laminator. It's just a $15 3M Scotch laminator, and it works beautifully. I've had a Scotch laminator for years, and I've been using it forever, maybe 30 years. That one is only 3 years old, and it's small and stores easier. Now, isn't that pretty? Look at that. You saw that I burnished it a little bit there when I took it out, and I love the way that came out. So it works, this technique works really well for these outline images. So I decided I'm going to color in the little cat. I'm going to use the cat, and I just pulled out a few Copics because that is what I have. You could use any marker here. You could use your real brush markers, add a little bit of ink, dye ink to it. That will not hurt anything. Put your color on however you like to put your color on. You can see I'm not using these Copics and blending them. This is a very whimsical critter, so I'm not worried about having perfect coloring. It's whimsical, so the coloring should also look whimsical. So I'm just adding, that was E21 and E23. I'm going to pull out Y28 and add that to the little crown. I love the little crown. I'm just pulling out a dark gray and adding it to the nose and what I think is a bow. I'm not really sure what that is. That little thing there is. And now I'm going to fussy cut it out. And the foil, you can just take a soft cloth and buff the foil after you color it in, and that should take any ink that you got on the foil off the foil, by the way. So, and you could just leave it without any coloring at all. But I think the foil is subtle when you're looking at it, and then you tip the card and it looks so pretty. It's almost like those cards with the holograms on them. Like you tip it and it looks different. Like that's exactly what this is. So I think it's a really fun technique to add a little special touch to your card. And it's easy to do. You're basically just heat embossing. Although it does take a little activation energy to get that laminator out of the drawer and plug it in and, heat it up. But it does add a really special little touch. So I loved this February kit. I felt like I didn't have enough time to play with it. I only got it toward the end of February, so I only got to use it for one project. And I decided that I would pull this out and play with it some more because I liked it so much. And so, you have lots of critter stamps in your stash that you could pull out and do this. You could do this with outline florals as well. And that would be very pretty. I did it with a Colorado craft image today. It's called a gnome home. So it looks really great. That video will be shared in a week. Just FYI. So I'm playing with the papers because I really would like to use up the scraps, but the colors don't really go with the foil that I use. I could have pulled out a piece of foil that matched those papers. I'm not sure why I didn't. I wasn't thinking about it. So I'm just cutting down some cardstock because now I'm going to create my card base and a card front. So I'm going to cut my card front down to 3.5 by 4 3/4, and that'll just be a little panel that I decorate to put on top of my card base. Here's my card base, 4 1/4 by 11. I just scored it at 5.5. I'll fold that in half and use my bone folder to give it a really nice crease. And that is a detail that always makes a card that you are making at home look really professional. A nice crease always does that. So I decide that I want to add some color to this bottom panel, and I could just blend some ink on and use the ephemera piece that I foiled and the critter and move on, but I decided that there are a bunch of stencils in this kit and I haven't played with them, so I'm going to play with this heart. I love this heart. It feels like a dahlia heart. So I'm thinking of ways I'm going to fit that heart on here with this pretty foiled piece, and I'm realizing probably not going to fit. I'll fit part of the heart on. So I decide I really like this heart. I'm going to make it the focal image of my card here. And I'm just taping it down so it doesn't wiggle around. I've got the Color Hive Flamingo ink that just came out a month or two ago. Has it been out 2 months, the pink? I'm putting a light inking of this, and I'm going to do it a little darker around the edges. I just like the way that looks. Dark around the edges, lighter as you get toward the center. I feel like little details like that help your cards that you're using stencils on look more dimensional. And I like the start of this. I feel like it needs something more. I'm putting this down here and realizing that that pink doesn't really go with the pink on the foil, so I'll probably save that sentiment for a different project. So I pulled out a Copic marker. You could use a colored pencil here. You could use any kind of marker you have. It doesn't have to be an alcohol marker. I'm using RV09, which is a fuchsia color, so it's a really deep pink. And I'm just doing like 3 flicks on the outer edge of each of the petals. So I'm just going to go around the whole card and do that. I'm just flicking just to add a detail that I really like the way this looks when I get it all done. As I'm doing it, I'm not sure. Like, is this going to look okay when I get it done? I just wanted to add a little bit more detail to make this pop and not seem like a flat stenciled image. So I'm just finishing that up, and when I put it aside and just look at it, I realize I really like it. And that really looks like a flower in the middle of that heart. So I'm going to actually give it a center. So I pulled out some more markers. This is YR27, YR24, and YR23, and I'm just putting some dots of each in the center of that flower to make it look like a flower. One more time, I'll try this, but I don't love it. So I'm not really just not going to use it. So I do add some ink just by dabbing the edges in my Flamingo ink pad, and I like the extra pop of color this gives it. It definitely shows up really nicely on my card base once I get it put on the card base. So I'm using this. I just got this 2-inch wide foam tape. I hate it. It's not easy to use. Like, that big giant roll of that big wide tape is too much for me. I think 1 inch would be more than wide enough for any tape I want to use for the back of my card panels. And I tried it because I thought I was going through the 1/2 inch stuff too fast, because I use about a roll every 2 months. And again, still trying that sentiment. I'm going to put it aside and use it on a different project. So eventually, I finally decide. So I need a sentiment. I'm going to add the cat because I love the cat. It's very whimsical. I think the heart with the flower is really, really pretty. So I pull out this sheet of pre-made sentiments I have, and these are sticker sentiments. They're actually from scrapbooking, and I believe this says "Believe in yourself." And I really like it. So I realized that if I center it under that flower, then it's not going to be centered on the card. So I decided to put it to the edge underneath the flower. And I like the way it looks. So I'll add a little foam to the back of my cat. I'll place my cat on the card fronts, and that is going to complete my card. So I accidentally made a card I liked using some foiling techniques. So that's pretty fun. So thank you for watching, friends. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give this video a thumbs up and share with your friends. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.